The sun hung low in the sky, a blood-red orb casting its eerie glow over the endless dunes of the wasteland. Each gust of wind lifted a curtain of sand, cloaking Lila and her band in a shroud of dust. The landscape stretched out before them, a broken remnant of civilization, a grim reminder of the world that once was. Lila adjusted the makeshift scarf over her mouth, her eyes scanning the horizon. Her heart was a knot of anxiety. Leading these weary souls was never her desire, but necessity dictated otherwise. Around her, the ragtag group huddled close, their faces etched with fatigue and hunger. Their supplies were dangerously low. The last drop of water had been rationed days ago, and the crumbs they scraped together wouldn't last another day. The desolation was suffocating, as if the desert itself sought to swallow them whole. The soft murmur of voices reached her ears, rumors trickling through the group of an oasis of hope. A mythical haven of safety and sustenance, said to lie beyond the wasteland's reach. Yet, to Lila, it seemed a cruel fantasy. The kind of hope that teetered on the edge of despair. Elena, the youngest in the group, tugged at Lila's sleeve. Her eyes, wide and searching, reflected a trust Lila wasn't sure she deserved. "Will we find it, Lila? The oasis?" Elena's voice was barely above a whisper, though it held the weight of the group's unspoken question. Lila hesitated, her mind a whirlwind of doubts. But she couldn't afford to falter. Not now. "We have to try, Elena," Lila said, her words steadier than she felt. "We can't give up, not when there's still a chance." Around them, the desert sighed its endless lament. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainty, and Lila felt the burden of leadership like a stone around her neck. Yet, she clenched her fists and held onto the fragile thread of hope, knowing it was their only compass in this forsaken land. The debate had been fierce, echoing under the fading light of their makeshift campfire. Lila faced her companions, their eyes flickering with doubt and fear, but also with a glimmer of hope. "We can't stay here," Lila urged, her voice firm despite the quiver of uncertainty within her. "The wasteland isn't forgiving. If there's even a chance the oasis exists, we have to try." Marcus, always the skeptic, crossed his arms, his stern gaze unwavering. "And what if it's just a story? What if we march to our deaths?" Lila met his gaze, refusing to waver. "Then we die trying. But we can't survive out here much longer. Not without taking that risk." In the end, it was the silence that decided, a collective nod from the group, a mutual understanding that standing still was a slow death. The desert, vast and unyielding, was no friend to those who lingered. They moved out at first light, leaving behind the remnants of their camp. The wasteland loomed large, the sky a harsh slate above their heads. Their path was treacherous, the ground cracked and arid. Not long into their journey, a roar shattered the quiet solitude. Lila's heart thundered in response as she spotted movement, a pack of mutant creatures, grotesque and relentless, charging from the dunes. "Spear formation," Lila shouted, drawing her dagger. Her heart pounded a frantic rhythm as the creatures closed in. The battle was swift and brutal. Survival instincts took over, there was no room for hesitation. Lila plunged forward, her dagger slicing through the maw of one beast, while others fought for their lives beside her. After what felt like an eternity, the creatures retreated, leaving a silence both palpable and suffocating. The group stood, panting, bearing new scars both visible and deep within their weary souls. Lila's hands shook as she wiped her blade clean. The threat subdued for now, all eyes turned to her once more. The reality of their journey had been laid bare, but in the faces of her companions, she saw determination rekindled, a resolve unbroken by fear. "Are you all right?" Elena's voice was a soothing balm against the chaos. Lila nodded, though inside, doubt gnawed at her insides. "We keep moving," she declared, willing her legs to steady as she pressed forward. Here, in the heart of the wasteland, only the strong survived, and Lila wasn't about to let them down. The vast expanse of the wasteland stretched out like an endless ocean of sand, a brutal adversary to their weary feet. Each step felt heavy, as if the sands themselves conspired to drag them deeper into despair. Lila led the way, her hair whipped by the biting wind, her mind a storm of uncertainty and exhaustion. The heat pressed down on them all, relentless and unforgiving, turning the air into a shimmering mirage. But it wasn't just the physical trials that took their toll. As days turned into nights, the psychological strain turned sharper. Tensions crackled among the group like static, brief flares of anger and frustration. "We're going in circles?" Marcus accused one particularly grueling day, kicking at the sand futilely. His eyes blazed with accusation. "You're leading us nowhere, Lila." Lila clenched her jaw, the words cutting deeper than any physical wound. "I'm doing my best," she replied, defensive and tired. "We agreed this path was our only hope." "Maybe hope isn't enough," Marcus muttered, his voice bitter as it was resigned. Silence fell over them once more, broken only by the howling wind and their own labored breaths. Lila felt the weight of the group's faith in her, a burden she had chosen to bear, yet one that threatened to crush her under its impossible expectations. She averted her eyes, blinking back tears in the wind's wake. Self-doubt seeped through her veins, bubbling up in every quiet moment of introspection. What if she was wrong? What if their sacrifices led only to more suffering? As if to mock their fragile perseverance, a sandstorm rose on the horizon, dark and foreboding. Lila rushed to action, ushering the group to form a hasty circle. "Cover your faces. Stay close," she shouted over the rising gale. The world became a whirlwind of chaos, visibility reduced to zero. Sand lashed at their skin, biting and unforgiving. They huddled together, leaning into the storm as a single unified mass against nature's fury. In the maelstrom, doubts screamed in Lila's conscience, of her ability to lead, to bring them through. Yet, amidst the despair, a small voice whispered strength. A reminder that leadership was not about knowing every step, but about remaining steady when the path grew uncertain. As the storm waned, the desert settling back into its relentless silence, Lila rose from the sand-covered ranks of her companions, eyes red from grit and tears. "We're still alive," she breathed, more to convince herself than the others. As the winds died down, so too did the clamor of dissent, at least for now. They would press on, bolstered by nothing more than the whispered stories of salvation and a shared, unyielding resolve. The desert had unfolded its grip just enough to reveal a secret, a relic of the old world buried beneath the sands. The entrance to the underground bunker was concealed by dunes, but it promised a reprieve. Lila had stumbled upon it by chance, her eyes catching the glint of metal obscured by sand. Instinct and desperation guided her hands as she unearthed the steel hatch, her heart racing with cautious hope. "Over here," she called, her voice echoing in the oppressive silence. The group gathered around, eyes wide and curious, a spark of life flickering amidst exhaustion. "An old bunker?" Elena asked, her voice laced with awe and trepidation. Lila nodded, tapping the hatch. "From before the collapse, I think. Let's see if there's anything useful left." Together, they pried the hatch open, a chorus of groans accompanying the exertion. The stale air within was a faint reminder of civilization, intoxicating in its familiarity. Descending into the darkness, they found a world preserved through time. Shelves lined with cans and jars, labels faded but intact. A forgotten cache of technology, batteries, gadgets, remnants of a society they could barely comprehend. The group set upon the supplies with a fervor born of necessity. Laughter bubbled up amidst the practical bustle, a sound foreign yet welcome in the desolate silence. "This is enough to keep us going for a while," Lila remarked, relief washing over her like a gentle tide. She peeled off the lid of a can, the contents a feast by their standards. But beneath the joy, a grim realization gnawed at her consciousness. The supplies, though abundant by their current dire needs, were finite. They'd buy time, but not forever. "We should ration carefully," Lila advised, meeting the questioning gazes of her companions. "This place won't last." "But it's a start?" Despite the underlying truths, spirits lifted. A flicker of hope ignited where despair had taken root. They chatted amicably, sharing stories and memories long buried under the weight of survival. Yet Lila couldn't shake the nagging feeling. She stood apart, her mind wandering through the possibilities and the implications. They had a lifeline, but it was only a step, not a solution. The desert was still out there, vast and threatening, and even as they found momentary solace within the bunker's steel embrace, the memory of its dangers loomed large. Taking a deep breath, Lila vowed silently. They would adapt. They would forge ahead, strengthened by the knowledge that they had overcome and would continue to do so. For now, they basked in the glow of hope rekindled, united by this small victory. The wasteland, it seemed, was not content to let them rest. That night, as the group huddled in the relative warmth of their underground haven, the desert sent its beasts once more. The attack came with terrifying suddenness, a cacophony of growls and screeches echoing through the bunker's corridors. Lila sprang to her feet, heart pounding with adrenaline. "They've found us," Marcus shouted, grabbing his weapon. Panic spread like wildfire, but necessity honed their reactions. "Form a line," Lila commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Defend the entrance." The creatures swarmed like shadows given flesh, grotesque forms illuminated by their makeshift torches. Lila stood at the forefront, blade ready, determination fueled by survival instinct. The battle raged, their sanctuary turned battleground. Steel clashed against claw and fang, each moment stretching into eternity as they fought not just for survival, but for the hope they had dared to grasp. Amidst the turmoil, a horrible cry pierced the air, a sound of both surprise and agony. Lila's heart lurched as she saw him, Samuel, fallen beneath the claws of the monstrous horde. No. Her scream was a raw wound in the night, but there was no time to grieve, only to fight, to push back the creatures with every ounce of strength she possessed. Finally, as dawn's first light seeped into their refuge, the last of the beasts slunk back into the sands from whence they came. A fragile silence settled, brittle and sharp. They had survived, but victory tasted like ash. Samuel's lifeless form lay testament to the cost of their journey, and guilt tightened its grip around Lila's heart like a vice. "He believed in us," Elena murmured, tears streaking her dirty cheeks. Lila knelt beside Samuel, her hand trembling as it closed his eyes forever. The weight of his loss was unbearable, made worse by the whisper of failures past and failures yet to come. "His sacrifice won't be in vain," Lila vowed, though the words felt hollow, even to her own ears. As they gathered to honor their fallen, Lila felt doubt gnaw at her, insidious and cruel. She questioned not just the path they'd chosen but her own place in leading them there. Yet in the faces of her companions, she saw something more, a shared determination to continue, to honor Samuel not just in memory, but in perseverance. Lila rose from the shadows of her self-reproach, steeling herself for the road ahead. The wasteland had taken much, but it would not claim their spirit. Together, they would move forward, for those they had lost, and for the promise of a better tomorrow. A pall of despair hung over the group in the days following the attack. The weight of loss was heavy, yet it was the future's uncertainty that seemed to press most urgently upon their souls. Lila watched as her companions grew more withdrawn, their laughter replaced by silence, their camaraderie dulled by grief. The makeshift campfire flickered weakly, a reflection of dwindling hope. She sat amongst them, her own heart a cacophony of guilt and determination. But as she gazed into the fire, memories of her past began to surface, images of a world once rich with life, before the wasteland. "I used to dream of places like this," she began, her voice cutting through the quiet. "Of cities that never slept, of forests that stretched beyond the horizon." Her words drew reluctant eyes, curiosity glinting through the fog of sorrow. "My father used to take me camping," Lila continued, a soft smile tugging at her lips. "We'd sing songs under the stars, believe in the impossible." "Tell us more," Elena urged, huddled close, her eyes bright with longing. So Lila spoke, weaving tales of the old world where colors danced in the sky, and oceans teemed with life. She recounted her dreams of a future where the wasteland was but a memory, replaced by a world reborn. The stories took on a life of their own, a tapestry of words that bridged past and present, weaving the group together with threads of shared humanity. Lila felt the embers of hope reignite, fragile yet real. "We can't let the past bind us," she said softly. "Carrying it with us is to honor it. But it must not chain us down." Her companions nodded, the glint of renewed resolve shining through their eyes. The path was hard, but they would face it together. Lila rose, her heart lighter than it had been. Alongside her, the group followed, shedding the constraints of fear and embracing the future with tentative courage. As they packed their belongings, ready once more to face the wasteland, Lila felt a quiet strength settle within. They had found something to hold on to, a belief in each other, a shared dream that transcended the hardship. The journey was far from over, but bereft of distractions, they found they had gained something irreplaceable, unity forged in the fires of shared struggle and resilience. "What lies ahead might be difficult," Lila admitted, meeting their determined gazes. "But we'll face it together," Marcus replied, his voice firm. With hope reignited and bonds strengthened, they stepped into the desert's vast embrace, ready to transform doubt into destiny, each step a testament to the possibilities they carried within. At long last, after countless trials and battles fought in the heart of the wasteland, the group stood on the precipice of the Oasis of Hope. Before them lay a vision so vivid it seemed unreal, a lush sanctuary thriving amid the barren desert. Lila stood in awe, a profound sense of fulfillment settling over her weary bones. The sunlight filtered through verdant leaves, casting playful patterns on the ground. The sound of water, sweet and alive, sang a melody that resonated deep within. The oasis was more than a dream, it was a testament to their resilience. Elena rushed forward, her laughter breaking like a wave, a sound so pure it brought tears to Lila's eyes. The others followed, exuberance washing away the grime of their journey. "Is this it?" Marcus breathed, his skepticism shattered by the undeniable reality. "It's real," Lila confirmed, her heart swelling with joy and relief. She knelt beside the bubbling stream, the cool water a balm against her skin. As the group reveled in the newfound paradise, Lila's thoughts turned inward, reflecting on the path they had taken. The oasis was a culmination of their struggles, their sacrifices. It was a promise realized. Yet as she watched her companions, Lila understood that survival was more than just reaching this place. It was about the journey and the bonds forged along the way. The battles they fought, the fears they overcame, these had shaped them into something stronger, unbreakable even amidst the harshest tests. Gathering her strength, Lila addressed the group, her voice carrying over the gentle rustle of leaves. "We've come far, and we've lost much," she acknowledged, her eyes meeting each of theirs, sharing the silent understanding of what they had endured. "But we've gained something invaluable. The journey was painful, but it taught us to hope, to believe in each other, and in the possibility of a future." The group nodded, their expressions a tapestry of emotions, love, and determination intertwined. "We're not just survivors," Lila declared, her voice strong with conviction. "We're a family forged by the crucible of the Wasteland." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, the oasis stood as a beacon of what was possible, a dream realized but not the end. It was a new beginning, the dawn of possibilities yet to be explored. United, they faced this new chapter, with the oasis stretching before them as both a reward and a reminder. The wasteland had challenged them, yet it was the bonds they had woven that truly